14 days left. We are officially 2 weeks into the week, right? 2 weeks, 1 day into the new month. My bad, not week, into the new month. What did I say? 2 weeks into the weeks? Damn, I'm tripping. 2 weeks into the month, and you're halfway there. Now, I believe yesterday you came down, right? And then news came out, you came down, you filled 3/4 of that wick. Now, what could happen now as you are starting to retrace on price here? What could possibly happen? What could possibly print here, right? So obviously you have this resistance here at 2000. You have this support here at like 1880, 1860, right? So like this is like the range that you are sort of bouncing in right now. Now in between that range you have a bigger range, right? So in between this range of whatever this is, you have a bigger range from basically this resistance over here to, I'll say, this support down here. Like this is your overall bigger range, right? So you came down, you filled the first range, tap into that red, into that red line, red level. You're starting to retrace now, right? So my issue with this monthly candle is that you had no top wick. So if you take a look here, this candle over here had no top wick. So two things could have happened this month. One was you come up first and then you create a top wick to continue pushing down. If that were to happen, then as you come down to re-break the lows, you would typically see price continue to drive straight down towards the 1840, 1820, 1780, right? But in this case, you came down first. You didn't create a top wick. So like, is that enough volume for us to drive down towards the bottom of this range? Of course, right? It is. Definitely there's enough liquidity, but for us to really drive down towards the next support, which is the overall green range, you would have expected to at least break the highs first before driving down. Now we have like 15 days left into the month, or 14 days left until August, or October. So is that enough time for us to really come up, break the highs, and then continue to push down this month? I mean, it could not. You do have FOMC next week on Wednesday, so that would definitely impact price. That's a pretty huge folder. So there's still a possibility. 14 days is a long time. But with the way things are looking, you may just end up closing whatever in the range here or even bullish. And then next month's candle will create a top wick for you to drive down potentially. Like that's what I'm kind of expecting. Unless that happens this month, which I wouldn't trip out about. But yeah, like overall, like for us to really drive down and connect through the next support at the 1800, you're gonna need to break the highs to grab liquidity. Whereas this right here, this top wick might be enough for us to come down here and then just reject off of there, right? So that's just to understand the monthly and what the monthly is doing. Obviously it won't affect our like 10, 15, 5-hit range here, but yeah, that's the monthly. Now coming down to the weekly obviously is pretty I'll say for the most part pretty bearish. Right now, this is the last day. You have 9 hours left. So what it looks like here is that it looks like you have, I'll say, you broke below. Honestly, I'm gonna say this. It looks like you respected, but overall, like the overall ranges I had here was, I think here. Like I was looking at this overall, right? This is my resistance here based off of these rejections to the left here. All these areas to the left that price is rejected in the past, right? And then your next overall support was down here at these levels at 1860. So this is what I was kind of looking at as your overall ranges, right? And 1860 is also that weekly wick fill, monthly wick fill as well. I think that's where the monthly fills that wick at, and that's where the monthly creates that bottom wick at for us. But you have like 9 hours left, so the chances of you coming down to fill like 1860 today, very low, like super low, right? You kind of just closed back. You kind of just came back to the entry point for the week. To Sunday's opening, and if you zoom in here, you start to reflip bullish, right? So if that's the case, you can look at it from this perspective. Now you can say, okay, well, there was, I guess, a support here. You close respecting support, or here I'll say you close respecting support, and therefore price is coming up now to reflip bullish. Now the weekly can do anything this week. It can close doji. It can close heavily bearish, right? Or it can close bullish. I have no idea what's going to happen yet, but if it does decide to close bearish, then next week's candle should create a top wick for you to drive down towards the next support, right? Because you need liquidity. But then if you close bullish, then again, same thing, right? Same thing. You expect next week's candle to continue driving up as well to retest the highs, because I believe for you to really drive down, again, you gotta tap into these levels here to the left to grab liquidity on the monthly, right? Because the monthly needs that top wick before coming down, and that's going to be around like 1870, 1860. So as you come up towards the top of the resistance, you're going to grab that liquidity for the monthly. Now, because the question is, like, is it going to be next month's candle, or is it going to be is it going to be a liquidity tapping 1970 to drive down, or is it going to be a push down first to drive up towards 1970? Because that's kind of what you want to ask yourself over the next couple of weeks, because that's going to change your trajectory of the trade too. Because if you do close bullish the way we are, and then next week's candle comes down first, creates a bottom wick, you might not even come back down from 1870. You might just continue to pop up to retest the highs, right? Whereas if this were to happen though, where you close like doji this week, and then next week's candle comes up, top wick, then sure, you know, obviously by then you can say, okay, well, there's a higher chance you can come down now after grabbing liquidity. So like that's how you can look at price over the next couple of weeks here. But yeah, like that's the monthly, that's the weekly. That's kind of how I establish like the higher time frame levels and what to expect for the monthly. Again, it won't really affect our small ranges that we're looking at today, but it's just an overall look on charts, just to get an idea and just to warm up a little bit as you get down to smaller time frames. Now the daily time frame today is looking like it's pretty I would say it's pretty bullish today, right? So it's bullish. However, there's couple things here. So I think it was like on Wednesday, chat. Wednesday, when I was like, all right, guys, you closed below the range today, but you need a top wick. Remember that? I said that on Wednesday's morning analysis. I remember, because if you look at price here, right, you could say, okay, well, this is your resistance up here on price, and then this is your support down here. This is your overall range, right? But if you look left here, at all the times that you really drove down towards the next support, right? Look at all the times to the left that you drove down towards 1892. So you're looking at like all the times that price tapped into the zone here. What happened here? The push up was from where? Here, right? Same thing here. Push down, tapping 1892 was here. So if you look at those exact top wick areas on price, which is right here and then right here, wouldn't it make sense if we just continue to pop up today towards 1932 before flipping bearish to continue down? That's a possibility, right? Any given point that could happen, because in the past it shows that that's where price tapped before it made its way down to retest the lows. Now this could all happen in one daily candle, or this can all happen within the next week, the next couple of days as the day forms that structure, right? But overall, like if you guys take a look here on Wednesday, I mentioned that you closed below the range but you didn't have enough liquidity, and you wanted to see us tap into 32 levels again to retest the lows, right? Or 27 levels, I think I said, right? So that's what I'm kind of expecting to happen, but unfortunately it's happening now, which is very late into the week. But there's still a slight chance that could still work, that can still play out today. Who knows? With news, with double folders, unless you have you need a strong catalyst, right, to really drive up towards 32 and then to flip bearish at 1908. You need a very strong catalyst. So there's a slight chance it can still happen, but it's very slim. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the daily time frame. Overall, like if you guys zoom in here, take a look here, you're gonna see that like you close below these ranges here to the left. Like there's like support, resistance here, right? This candle here closed below the range on Wednesday, and then Thursday's candle closed respecting. So at any given point, this thing could continue to push down and retest the lows. There's a very high chance of that happening before price makes its way up. Even if price were to make its way up, right? Let's say your next resistance, your next clean traffic level to the left here is up here. Okay, cool. 1940, 1948, right? But when do you ever see prices continue to drive up liquidity, right? Especially if you're reversing on price, you're gonna see the rebreak of lows. You're gonna see, so like, look, let's say today's candle closes bullish like this, right? And this is how you finish off the daily today. That's a possibility, right? But as that prints, right, before filling the wick up, you'll see a bottom wick. You'll see price retest the lows. It's very rare where price just reverses in the middle of the range without filling the exact levels, right? Like before price made its move back up here, what happened? It came down to fill the actual range first. It tapped 92. It filled the range. It wasn't just the middle of the range, right? And then this obviously came down, and this was the middle of the range, but it's different because this already grabbed the liquidity for you. Whereas this, you don't really have anything here getting tapped, right? Same thing as this. Like obviously you came down first and you made your move up, right? It's just a simple, basic supply and demand. Retest the lows, retest the highs. That's all that really is. So even if you were to drive up over the next coming days, you're gonna see the rebreak of these lows, right? So again, you might not even drive up to it for all I know, but because you can still close bearish below respecting resistance, right? You can, like, this is still a scenario that can play out today where you can just flip bearish and just continue to drive. I mean, it doesn't have to be 32, but looking left, going off of historical data, it shows you that it's gonna be 32. So that's just what I'm expecting. Anywhere between 27 and 32, right? So we can probably take advantage of price of sells at like 1932, 1927, and then take sells from there coming down towards like 1910, 1912, whatever it is, whatever this orange range or this yellow range is right here, right? So whatever this is, we can take advantage of that later on. It's definitely tradable, right? So, but yeah, you do have news at 8:30, chat. You do have news in 25, so just be cautious of that. That might affect price as well. But yeah, that's just the daily outlook. So now that we have our major levels marked up, right? So major levels in terms of like, you have this right here. So 1892, but we're kind of far, so it's irrelevant right now. But I'll say for the most part, this right here is your major level. 1927 today, and then you also have a level at 1907, and then after 1907, you obviously have your 1896. All right. So those are like your levels that you want to keep in the back of your mind, because as I come down to the smaller time frame, those levels are going to get very useful. It might look useless right now, but as I get to the smaller time frame, I look for I drop down to the 5, 15, 30, whatever, 1 hour. You're going to see me make more use of these levels. So just remember 27, 09, 96. Cool. Now dropping down to daily, right? Or the 4 hour time frame. That was a daily. Drop it down to the 4 hour time frame. You look at price here, and what do you see? You seen that price, you know, obviously from yesterday's low at like NYSE open, it just continued to pop up to retest the highs, and you sort of got you sort of like broke back into the range here, right? You kind of had this right here. So this is your resistance. This is your next resistance. You kind of close back above the range, and as you close back above the range, you're continuing to push up now to fill the range, right? So there's a possibility that you will see price likely come up, continue to pop up towards 1928, or like this is what you're expecting in terms of levels, right? Look left here, all the times that you actually broke back into the range. What happened here? You came up, tapped what? 27, 24, 28, right? So same thing should happen here today. You should tap 26, 24 before making your next decision. Again, what I mean by next decision is the markets, right? The market likely will tap these decision levels, right? That's the term we gave it, decision levels, before price makes a next move, right? So remember earlier I said 97, 07, and then 1927, right? Like those are the areas that I was looking at, and it all falls back to this sort of so yeah, like overall, like yeah, I would expect, you know, price continue to pop up to fill the top of the range before making its next move. Now, if you can understand that that's what's gonna happen, how could you take advantage of that now? Because that's what you want to do. You want to take advantage of that pull, right? So going back to the daily got clean traffic towards 1922. So it looks like you're pushing up, re-breaking those highs. The 4 hour candle is going to be breaking the highs. Looking left, it has nowhere else to go really but 1922 minimum, right? The true question becomes 1922. Like what happens there, right? But you should continue to fill that in the next like upcoming minutes here. It's just what happens after that, especially with news 2. You could continue to reject, or you can continue to drive past and push towards 28. But looking at price here, again, going back to what I said earlier, you need liquidity to drive, right? If you're not gonna, even if you don't grab liquidity where I mentioned it earlier, even if you don't come down and grab liquidity at 1897 today, which is a very long shot, right? You can still create new ranges because the session is still going. The session is gonna continue to push, and as structure changes, like let's say like right now you have like this resistance over here, right? Over here, and then you have a new resistance over here. Even if you don't grab liquidity at 27, or 97, which is down here, since you're already above these ranges, any given point, what could happen during this 4 hour candle is you can just form this, right? You can just grab liquidity at like 1914, 1910 in this sort of green zone here, right? Any given point, that's where price can tap into to grab liquidity before making its move up towards whatever next target is. Looking left there, if you guys take a look at this push to the left, that's kind of what happened here, right? You had a range form here, same range you had formed here. You broke below, you broke back into the range, you filled the range, you're about to fill the range, right? Before making a move up though towards the next resistance, which was 1938, you came down, created bottom wick. bottom wick was where? 1916, 1914, right? So that's an era which you could likely mirror today if you were to continue pushing up towards the next resistance at 1938. Now, the question still remains, like, how are you gonna take positions now? Like, you have all these levels marked up. You're looking at like this 4 hour here, that daily here, but now how do you take positions with whatever you marked up, right? So again, these are major levels. Keep this in the back of your mind as we drop down to the 1 hour, and all these are time frames now. So dropping down to the 1, same thing. Like, even looking at the 1 here in this case, like, it looks like you have closed above well, there's a resistance here at 1920, which you haven't closed above yet. But looking left there, your previous support levels were around like here, right? So I'll assume that even if you were to drive up today, you're gonna retest 1916 minimum before making a move up towards whatever today. Like, let's say you were to mirror these pushes up, right? You're gonna retest the lows first. You're gonna see another retest, another breakout of lows at 1916, 1915, 1914, and then from there on, you can look for bias going back up, and that matches perfectly with the 4 hour time frame of today, right? So let's see. Now when it comes to like the 1 hour, 30, 15, 5, it comes down to just mark up my charts and looking for my exact levels. When it comes to these time frames, it's sort of whichever looks the cleanest for me today. So you do have news at 8:30 today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of the 30-minute time frame. I'm going to go into 30 and look at the 30, because that's how the 30 candle will close for 8:30 today. So drop it down to a 30. What do you guys see here? You guys see, well, I see here you have you have like a level of resistance, I'll say right around here at like 1921, right? So just simple support and resistance like we've been doing. Or what is this? What is 23 levels? That might be an area too. That might be an area. Let's see, 1932. It's too high though. Let's put it here. Yeah, I'll put it here for now. And then that's like, I guess the 24, whatever that is your next resistance. But I guess for now it could be right here as your most recent resistance, and then your next resistance is gonna be up here at like 1925, 1925.07, or maybe even up here at 1926.488. So that's your next resistance there. Now, yeah, you're still below 21 here. So since you're still below 21, any given point you could reject off of 21 still. And as you reject off of it, again, you got to grab liquidity, right? So where could that be now, right? Going back to what we mentioned earlier, those major levels that we had on a small time frame, right? I think one of them were 1914. It's going to be around here. There's a previous support was formed over here. So let me just see, looking left here, if that's valid. For the most part, it looks like it's pretty valid. I wouldn't see why not. Yeah. I'll put it here for now. Just so we can have it as like just a range form. There's no like in positions there anyways, so it's not like we're taking a sell or buy there or whatever. It's just like a major level that we are in the range from, right? So we're in the range right now from 21 to 14, right? So if you were to continue pushing up today, right, with the daily and the 4 hour time frame and all of that towards like 1928, you gotta come down and tap support first. So if I'm looking for buys today, I would look for buys if you were to come down and break below like 1914. So as for like where the top wick is, looking left there, I'll probably say it should be anywhere in this zone here, like between 13 and 14-ish. Let's see. Yeah, maybe here at 1913, 205. Or maybe even further down, 1912. $1912, 865. Let's see. Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. So if you were to come down and retrace that morning pre and Y push, and you were to grab liquidity to drop up, I believe it's gonna be at 1912. So potential buys here. Wait, where am I? So if I'm looking for buys today, I'll probably look for buys around 1912 levels today. Now for sells, right? Because any given point, going back to the daily, it could still flip bearish, and as it flips bearish, it can continue to drop down towards the next support, which is whatever next, 1897. So if you were to flip bearish on the forward today, or on the daily, my bad, right? The flip is at 1910. Let's see. So if you were to flip today, where could that be? What's the top of the range again? It was over here, right in the 4. So 4 hour time from top of the range would be here, or it's gonna be here. What is this? 1925. That won't make sense. It's middle of the range. If it's gonna reject 1930. No, you're gonna have a strong pull today. Is it 32? That's the daily highs, right? That's the day breaker highs. Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe 32. I think that was a level up Monday for sells. Yeah, 32, 30-ish zones here, or 34, 32-ish. Okay, cool. Let me just go ahead and mark that up. What is this? What is this marked up here? Oh, that's a resistance. Okay. The resistance there at 28, and then your next resistance up here. I said it was 32, right? Yeah, I'm looking at this mirror here, Chad. The reason why I have his levels marked up at 34 on the 4 hour time frame is because I'm looking at this exact same mirror on price that happened. Where was it? On a 1 hour? Right here, right? So like this pole right here that you have coming down, or coming up right now, is the same mirror you had here to the left. This whole sequence right there, right? It's very similar in price. Like you had the same high marked up here, right? And then you came down to create a bottom wick here to the left, so you have this now, right? And within this range here, so you had this right here, and then within this range here, you also, if you were to create a bottom wick today, right? That's what I'm saying, like 1912, 1914, if that were to be the bottom wick, then we can probably take buys there going back up towards 1932, right? So we can get the buys towards 32, which is this green zone here, this green pole here, right? Which is this exact mirror, or we can miss on the buys, right? And then take the sells from 32 down, because 32 is gonna reject to at least 28, or at least 24, and then range there for a bit before making that next move up, right? Because look, left, last time happened, same thing. It came up, tapped 32, 34. You started to range for a little bit, and as you started to range for a little bit, you took a couple of, I'll say like a whole day to figure out the direction to continue pushing up or come back into the range, right? So yeah, I'm trying to see if we can grab this pole here, the same mirror from like 1912, 1914, to drive up towards the next resistance at 32, 34-ish. And that range going up is going to be like it's a potential runner. It's a 190 pip range. My only concern really is news today, right? You have news, so I don't know how that folder at like what do you call it, that folder at 8:30 and then 10 a.m. will affect price, because you might see a drive for 8:30, and then next thing you know, 10 a.m. comes with the second folder and it just reverses on price, right? You want to see just one solid move up, and it's gonna be a little harder to have one solid move up when you have two folders like that coming at you today on price. But yeah, chat, that's what I got going on right now. Okay, so I got potential sells here, and potential buys at 1912. All right. Yeah, but I believe if you were to drive up today, you're gonna fly straight to 28. You're gonna fly straight to 21 if you were to drive, right? And like if news comes out negative, you're gonna see a pull, and it's gonna come up straight towards 1930, 34, or within the hours. of until 10 at least, right? Because there's nowhere else to go after that. It's just filling the range on the daily. It's just filling the range on the 4. Or it can just come down. You know, if news comes down, I wouldn't be tripping as well. I mean, shit, we can definitely just take sells then at like wherever as it comes down with the daily. You know, the daily has room for runners as well. If you look at the daily here, right, your next resistance is up here, right? This is your overall support. Like, we have runners for sells today too. Like, if we get sells, it will at least be until the flip or just the support, which is going to be like 1905. So you have a range either direction. But yeah, like this analysis wasn't really meant to figure out the bias, because the bias is not everything, right? Like maybe like 2 years ago, last year, our bias was everything, but the way we see bias now is just like the overall direction of the markets. But you can play whatever game you want to play, right? Within the daily range, you can play the pullback, you can play continuation, or you can play the range, right? So if we take sells today, then we're playing the continuation. If we take buys, or my bad, if we take buys today, we're playing the continuation. If we take sells today, we're playing the pullback. And then if we take the range, then, I mean, whatever that is, right? Whatever that range is for us to take. But yeah, it has nothing to do with the day being bullish or the day being bearish today. It's just because like yesterday even, we were looking for buys the entire session. And next thing you know, we took sells because price didn't grab liquidity to drive up, right? So understand that we were still bullish. We understood that there needed to be more liquidity before coming up. And that's why we took the sells yesterday, as our bias was bullish. Make sense? Makes sense, chat. But yeah, this count here, it's in the middle of the range here. So like, even if news were to come out and drive down today, you're gonna see the re-break of these highs here. This is gonna re-break the highs, tap you into at least 21,495 before making that next move, either breaking above or just reversing. But it's gonna tap these highs again. I wouldn't get FOMO if you guys off of this, whoever this rejection is. You're gonna see the break of the highs, like an 85-90% chance on price, because that's like the same kind of like concept we had on the daily, right? The daily time frame. Look at the daily, or my bad, the weekly, or no, it was a daily. Yeah, it was a daily. So the daily time frame, it never filled that range, right? So price likely is going to fill that range or re-break its own low before making that move up if it were to drive up, because it needs to grab liquidity in order to make that next push towards that next zone. So same thing on the 1 hour time frame, right? If you were to flip it, same shit. You're in the middle of the range, you're gonna re-break the lows if you were to drive up today. If this were to happen, you're gonna see this happen first, and then you see that happening, and then you'll see range here, and then you'll see whatever, right? So don't stress on that pull. But yeah, that's it, chat. That's the analysis today, man. So now we just wait for price to print our levels. The 1912 was my original buy zone, but again, that could change throughout the session. During the session, you're gonna have comics open, you're gonna have news here in about 10 minutes, you're gonna have things that would change price and change the structure, and we're gonna have to adapt. Like, you might see me move this 12 level down to 1908 level. You might see me move it down to even 1901 level, right? But likely it will move as the session goes. So like, whatever analysis I just did was only valid for the time being, right? Or like, whatever levels I'm looking for is only valid for the time being, but it will change during the session, and that's okay, right? During the session, I do like 4 to 5, 10 analysis even sometimes on price, because I just see more concept, see more data as we go on with the sessions. But yeah, man, that's my analysis, man. So I have no idea what price is gonna do here at all until